This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Brian and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. That's right, Geek Gab for Sunday, October 2nd, 2016. This is episode 71. This is going to be another one of those meandering ones, so you just have to sit back and enjoy it. As of right now, our co-host John is missing in action, but we have, well, I can't say we because I don't actually know, but I have mostly almost pretty much sort of every single confidence that he will in actuality show up sometime during the show. So typically at this point I would ask John how his week has been, but as I previously mentioned, he is, in point of fact, missing in action. So, Brian, how was your week?
Well, as good as any week spent sedentary and like staring at a computer screen for hours on end can be. So, pretty great. Got a lot of work done.
And you are now 81.6% finished with the third novel in your trilogy?
Yes, if you want to get really precise, 81.643%, yeah.
How's it going? Are you feeling good about how the novel's progressing?
I'm feeling phenomenal about how it's progressing, let me tell you, because just yesterday, okay, to take a step back, as we've discussed on the show, I am a big fan of outlining. I'm definitely an architect. I mean, very few writers are 100% architects or organic writers, pantsers, gardeners. They go by many names. I'm about a 60-40 blend, 60% outlining, 40% organic writing. And so even though I do quite extensive outlines, some of our listeners may have seen the notebooks containing my initial outlines that I posted on Twitter and Facebook. Over time, as you come up with new ideas, and sometimes even your characters will present you with better ways to take the plot that is more in line with their personalities. So yesterday I took stock of my outline, a refreshed document, went and really wrote a whole new updated one that I could just see falling into place, the puzzle thing. So I have a roadmap. I can see my way clear line. I know exactly where I'm going, and all that's left is to just roll up my sleeves and do the work and finish the race.
Excellent. Well, we are obviously looking forward to that. So hopefully you'll be able to. Well, it looks like you'll be able to hit your Christmas deadline easily, I'm guessing.
Well, we're getting to the point where it's going to depend on other people because the percentages that I'm putting out there are for the first draft. Okay, which is the most time-consuming part. After this, I'm immediately going to go into second revision, and normally I kind of let the manuscript sit on the windowsill to cool for a couple weeks to get some distance. Not this time. I'm just going to go straight into it and try to get that done in a couple weeks. Then that's going to go out to the beta readers. Any of you who have read Ethereal and Souldancer preferably, and want to beta read Secret Kings, keep an eye on my blog. I'll be putting out a call for beta readers. The beta readers this time will have 2 weeks to get me back their notes on the novel. I think that's eminently reasonable. One, because I know how long this book is going to be. It's going to be my shortest one yet. It should hit that nice 100,000 word, 400-page sweet spot nicely. And all my beta readers have to do is go through the manuscript and tell me where, if anywhere, they felt confused or bored. That's it. They don't have to suggest changes. They don't have to nitpick over grammar. Me and Jadji will do more of that. So then I will take their notes, do a third pass, send the third pass to Jadji. She's usually pretty fast. Then do the final draft based on her notes. Then I send it into Pulgar Studio for formatting. I've already contacted Marcelo about commissioning a cover. So provided all these elements coalesce in a timely manner, Yeah, I think I can do this.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
Thanks. That is how the sausage is made.
Speaking
of sausage,
behind the scenes chaos. Ooh, took that in a different but yet strangely similar direction. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
hello. Sorry I missed the first minute or two. Real life intrudes, but real life is good. Real geeking is good. I'm really happy to hear about the updates on your book, Brian. I caught that picture that you posted of all your notebooks. Mrs. Dornell, in fact, is doing a little writing of herself on the side, and it's definitely more of a hobby thing. But I mentioned the picture. I mentioned the notebook thing. I'm like, hey, Brian's got a notebook for each book, talking about like her taking notes and maybe doing a little writing this weekend. And she just got all wide-eyed when she saw it.
Really? Good way or a bad way?
I think
because I don't want to discourage anyone.
Wait, I think she thought it was a bad way. I don't think she's been doing any notes or outlining or anything the way you have.
There are people who don't, and be sure to tell her I produced those notes over the course of 16 years, okay? Between 16 and like 3 years ago. So Rome wasn't built in a day.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah, I encourage her to keep going. And yeah, if it's just a hobby, you're going to write some shoebox novels, some trunk novels. That's fine. A little bit of self-enrichment, self-expression. Yeah, she's not in competition with me. This isn't a race.
Well, I mean, you're way ahead by a dragon anyway.
Yeah, well, then we've got guys like Kevin J. Anderson and John Ringo who each finished a novel within like the first couple of minutes of the show, so you should never compare yourself to another writer. That way lies madness.
Go ahead.
I have a project. I use Scrivener. I use electronic notes because paper notes drive me nuts. I can't read my own handwriting anyway. I have to have it on electronic. I have to have electronic copies of stuff. That way I can back it up to like 4 different places. I'm not kidding. That's not exaggeration.
No, if you don't have something backed up in at least 3 places, you don't care about it.
But just one of my electronic documents for my role-playing game project has 3,500 separate text files in it that are different notes about different things. Not all of them are huge. I mean, some of them are just like a couple of lines. Some of them are just, one chart of like somebody mentioned, oh, well, I want to really have a chart for randomly generated attributes. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to put that in the rule book, but I might stick it on the website later for, somebody asks. So I thought about it. I said, okay, well, here's what I think that should generally be. So that's in there. It's a 10-line, 12-line chart table. And so that's one of the text files. That's one of the 3,500 text files in the project. But yeah, notes upon notes upon notes, and that's just one of the projects. That's for the rule book itself. That's not any of the setting information.
Sweet. I believe it. I don't write my books directly from the spiral notebooks. I do, as I said earlier, come up with an electronic outline. Those are just for the initial ideas.
How much of those notebooks is just D&D campaign notes?
Well, that's what they are. 100%. Because I game my novels out.
So that seems totally unfair. This goes back to something that we talked about a couple months ago, that someone made like a Souldancer prestige class or something for D20 or whatever. How is that even remotely balanced?
How is the character class balanced?
Yeah, how do you possibly balance that? They seem OP.
Do you know that Daddy Warpig? He's concerned with balance. That's cute.
Man.
I'm wondering why you're dragging me into this conversation.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I thought I could I could get some improvement there. But no, and let me tell you this, Dornall. Yeah, that prestige class is horribly nerfed.
Okay.
You said you're reading Souldancer. You've run into that character, correct?
Yeah, I'm about halfway through the book now.
Cool. Which I hope didn't hurt, because that's a lot like running into a brass statue. We didn't bruise or break anything. But
Womp womp.
yeah. So I try. So yeah, I mean, when you're done with the book, or even right now, if you go back and look at what Ian wrote, yeah, we had to go over that, because I actually submitted a more accurate initial version to him, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I can release this to people. I don't feel right unleashing this on the world. Let's dial this back, okay? Okay.
Yeah, like level adjustment +4 or something.
Oh, it's
well. I mean, just halfway through the book, just to get extra nerdy on the topic of D&D specifically, like.
Wait, hold it. Back up. If I was running 3.5, that's an interesting mechanic you just proposed.
Okay.
I mean, we assume that one level in any given class is equal to one character level. That you gain a level in a prestige class or gain a level in a regular class, that's equal to one character level. And so each of the class levels is balanced to be theoretically, assuming you don't try to combine books from like 6 different product lines together and come up with some cockamamie combination that nobody ever thought of. But what if you added in, as a mechanic, saying, okay, this particular prestige class now has a level adjustment. So when you gain the first level in this prestige class, it has a +4 character level adjustment. So let's say you were level 10, or let's say you're level 9. This will make the math a lot easier. And you gain the first level in this prestige class that has a level 4 +4 character level adjustment. So your character level, as far as hit dice and saving throws and base attack bonus and everything, goes up to 10. But as far as experience points required to reach the next level, you are now level 14. Because you have gained so much power from this overpowered prestige class. It's just as if you were taking, as if you had a racial level in some racial character class or whatever. That's an interesting mechanic. I'm not saying that's a good mechanic, and that may be a little bit too complicated for some campaigns, but that would be an interesting mechanic to implement, to have some kind of, to allow superpowered prestige classes that would bring something like Rifts-esque high power levels into a regular campaign. That's an interesting mechanic. I don't know that you necessarily meant to propose that, but that is an interesting mechanic.
I was thinking along the lines of the racial thing, like you play a monster and you're considered a level or 2 higher.
Right, but that's how you would implement it as a prestige class, as a Souldancer prestige class, is you would drop that in for the first level of Souldancer. So yeah, your character level is 10, but it's effectively a 14 as far as gaining experience points for the next level, even though your base attack bonus and everything is still only level 10. So all of those other abilities and stuff that you get would have to make up for that +3, +2, +1, whatever you decided it was worth, that you would get from the class. Interesting mechanic.
It almost goes back to second ed, where the classes needed different amounts of experience to level up. So for prestige class like you're talking about, you not only have to meet the prerequisites to qualify for the class, and then get enough experience, and then gain a level and choose to take a level in the prestige class, but then it would take you more experience to get to level 2 and so on in that prestige class than normal. Right?
Or any other class you took, because if your character level gets bumped up to 14, but you decide to take a level in fighter, you're going to have to take a level in fighter at the higher experience level, because now your effective character level is 14.
Strange.
I think you cut out again.
Yeah, I got that from both of y'all. I think the internet's unhappy with us today. So the reason I've got tabletop gaming on the brain is that I hit a milestone I didn't think I'd hit just a couple of days ago. It's been 1 year since I started that game after work.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah. And which is weird considering that I started off as this sort of open table, email the whole company, anybody who wants to, show up on Wednesday afternoon, just show up and play. It's more or less the same group of people, and we've been going for a whole year.
That's really rare. Most campaigns don't last that long.
And it's not even like that sort of campaign. I'm still running the mega dungeon. These guys are only level 5. They're just starting to get into the deeper secrets of the dungeon. Which means, unfortunately, that I'm probably going to have to start doing actual planning for new adventures in another 6 months or so.
Always fun. Do you have any ideas that you can mention on the air?
Not so much.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. But I wish you Godspeed.
Yeah, the biggest idea I have is that a couple of the players have sort of expressed an interest in seeing what else is out there in this world. And my response has mostly been, well, there's this great big dungeon that is already prepared if you want to do that. Yeah. So it might turn a little more towards wilderness exploration. Of course, that means dipping into the OSR toolkit because D&D 3.5 doesn't have really great rules for exploration.
Well, have you guys seen that there's apparently some sort of controversy going on between certain folks in the OSR community and the Pulp revival community?
No, not really.
Okay.
There's just one guy, and then you don't want to get it. No, let me make an analogy.
All right.
It began as a series of 2 different internet flame wars that both began. One began 16 years ago. One began 10 years ago.
Whoa.
That both of them are moot. They're both pretty much over now, and it's just 2 people. It's Jeffro on one side and the RPG pundit on the other. And I don't really think that it's pertinent anymore. It's not really pertinent either to the Pulp revival or to the OSR community. And I understand why Jeffro's angry about it. I do. I get why he's angry about it completely. And I'm not criticizing him for it. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be angry. And I'm not trying to put him down for it. I just think that there's nothing to be gained by raking over these coals. The people in the OSR community have largely moved on from Appendix N books, which may be good, maybe bad, doesn't matter. They largely have. They've moved on to other stuff that's not fantasy-oriented, like Stars Without Number. It's a hex crawl space game. And so it's not a fantasy D&DS game, but it still basically uses old-school D&D rules.
Yeah, my buddy who did the Souldancer template is really into OSR, but on more the surreal side. So Legend of the Flame Princess and...
Right.
Yeah.
So my point is that they have largely stopped talking about and reading the pulps. But the Pulp Revolution is all about not just Appendix N, but all of the other pulps. Amazing Stories and, all of those other pulp magazines. And so that's where the real conversation is happening. And whatever the RPG pundit thinks about that is completely irrelevant. He doesn't have any pull in the Pulp Revolution community. He doesn't have any pull in the author, writer, publisher community. And so his opinions are irrelevant. And so whatever happens going forward, when the Pulp Revolution has an effect on role-playing again, and it will, when these Appendix N books have an effect on role-playing again, and it will happen outside of the OSR community. It will happen outside of D&D mechanics. It will happen in completely different game systems. And so I don't think that it is a productive conversation. I don't think it's a productive argument. And I think from the side of the Pulp Revolution, just understand that whatever the pundit says, he's doing so because he sincerely believes it's for the best of the RPG hobby, and that unless you're willing to dive into 15-year-old and 10-year-old Flame Wars and unpack exactly what happened, you're not going to understand what happened, and also understand that doing that is going to be a waste of time. It's just not going to be productive for you. You're not going to get to the bottom of it, and when you do get to the bottom of it, you're not going to feel any better about the time you wasted doing it. Believe me.
Okay, I'm glad I asked you. I believe you.
Anybody who's listening, if you really honest to God want to know, I can tell you, you don't want to know. You don't want to take the time to know. And to Jeffro, if you're listening, I could tell you it's not going to make you feel any better. It won't make you feel any less angry. I would just advise it to just understand you're going to be angry, justifiably so. You were slighted by the OSR community. Mark Kern was slighted by the role-playing community on Google Plus when he came over because he's making a tabletop game. I'm not saying you should forget that, but when the RPG pundit says something about Appendix N, just understand his opinion is irrelevant. It does not matter. And so if you want to respond, that's fine. But other than that, he's irrelevant. There are better things to talk about. There are cooler things to talk about because the pulps are awesome, and the RPG pundit's opinion does not matter to that discussion.
The end.
That's my opinion.
Full stop.
Take it for what it's worth.
Well, knowing you, I'm going to invest considerable weight in that. That's why I asked.
Hey, switching gears a bit, I haven't kept up with the new Netflix hotness. Have either of you guys seen the Luke Cage show yet?
I've seen 5 episodes.
What do you say?
One episode got really boring at some point. I think it was episode 4 or 5 got really boring at some point. They just kind of dragged in that one episode. The other ones, it's kind of a slow burn. It's 13 episodes of that season. It's kind of a slow burn. The first 2 episodes, other people have complained about it. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes because they're setting up the milieu. They're setting up the flavor of this version of Harlem they're building. They're setting up all the characters so you know the characters and you care about them. And they're setting up this world in motion. Things are already happening when you start watching the show. Characters are already doing stuff. They already have a history. Things are already happening. And you're finding out about where people are going and what they're doing and what their motivation is, so that when stuff starts going down, you actually kind of care when people start getting killed or when they start losing stuff, when things start happening. You're kind of invested in them. And so on that level, yeah, it's not an Avengers movie right off. They don't start off with a big, gun battle. They don't start off with a big action scene the very first minute of the show. And so it's kind of a slow burn because they've got 13 episodes to tell this big story of the conflict between the main hero and the main villain. So it doesn't jump off and grab you immediately with high action every single minute of the show. I'm still not satisfied. I can't tell you yet whether the whole series will be worth it because I haven't seen all 13 episodes, but it's not as grimy and dirty and nasty as Jessica Jones was, because the first couple episodes of Jessica Jones just made me feel like I had to take a shower. It was just gross.
Surprising to hear all that about a show that's, about a bulletproof guy.
Yeah.
You think they just start off hey, check this out, bang, check it out, he's not dead.
I enjoyed most of the first 5 episodes. One of them got slow and a little bit boring, and you're like, okay, guys, you got to pick this up right now. But I think it was episode 4. But you know what? For the most part, I've enjoyed it. I'm willing to stick with it. I haven't been able to binge watch it the way I wanted to because I've been busy all this weekend. But I hope so this week.
Cool.
All right, we are running down to the last minutes. Anything else you want to talk about before we take off?
No, I'm good. That was fun.
Any last words,
Okay.
Brian?
Well, as for me, once again, my Campbell-nominated first book, Ethereal, is available from Amazon in ebook and paperback format. Links below. It's Dragon Award-winning sequel, Souldancer. Even higher rated. I don't know, Dornell, I think you said that you felt it was superior to an Ethereal so far. You still hold to that?
Yeah, 50% of the way through. The prologue still makes no sense. Just skip the prologue, everybody.
No, don't skip the prologue. It ties in. It will tie in soon.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, also available. Yeah, it's important. Like, the dude Almith, I can tell you this. He is the main character of the whole 8-book series. Everything that has happened is basically his fault.
I will report back when I finish it. I will report back with the precise page where that actually matters. As soon as I feel that, I'll let you know.
I want to say this. I am currently reading the third issue of Kursova magazine. The first 2 issues were awesome. The third issue looks like it's going to be awesome. I'm enjoying all of them so far. Please check out Kursova magazine. We had P. Alexander on a couple of weeks ago. Check it out on Amazon. It starts with a C, Kursova, C-I-R-S-O-V-A. Pulp Revolution is awesome because high action, fast paced, interesting stories are awesome. And Jeff's book about Appendix N, about all these pulp books that went into Gary Gygax's creation of D&D, is going to be coming out sometime soon. And there's something else that is about that I may be able to talk about soon that I can't talk about yet. I won't talk about yet until I've been given permission to, but I'm excited for the book. I'm excited I loved his series of posts. They introduced me personally to a whole big world of really awesome books. So when his book comes out, we're going to have him on the show, because I asked him to come on several months ago, and he said he wouldn't come on until his book was out and he could talk about it. So we're going to have Jeffro on the show to talk about his Appendix N book when it comes out.
Sweet.
I'm very excited by the Pulp Revolution. I'm very excited to see people going back to the roots of science fiction and fantasy, going back to the roots of when stories were about excitement, when stories were about fun, when stories were about adventure, when they were not about misery and preaching and social justice and sitting around. And I just love to see people like Sky Hernstrom and Misha Burnett and all of the other authors who are, and if I am not mentioning your name, believe me, it is not intended as a slight. I apologize. And all the other authors who have appeared in Kursova so far. Please check out the magazine. It's wonderful. I just want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We are signing off for today, but don't worry, don't fret. We will be back.